Good afternoon. This is a conversation specifically for teachers in K-12 that are interested in participating in the June 2025 SRI Congress, which will be held in Chicago at the Sheraton Hotel June 16th through the 19th. One of the reasons why we want and are so excited about this is that the SRI Congress is offering a special discount for teachers that want to participate in an international congress that will be convening in the United States for the first time, all focused on climate change, innovation. SRI stands for Sustainability, Research, and Innovation. Also, if you are a teacher in Illinois, you can participate in the SRI Congress and get up to 12 hours of professional development credit. So we here have convened some connected educators throughout, from K-12 all the way through higher education in the Illinois, University of Illinois ecosystem. I'm going to start with Lucy Gray. Lucy, hello. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Hey, Brad. It's good to see you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I am a native of Illinois, and I am a longtime educator. Non-traditional educator is how I like to bill myself. And right now I'm focused on doing online events for teachers, including a conference called GLOW, which you've been involved with, Brad, over the years, Global Learning for an Open World. It is the evolved version of the Global Education Conference that I ran years ago. We come together every year in November for International Education Week, and teachers and organizations showcase their work around topics such as the Sustainable Development Goals and globalizing classrooms. I'm an ed tech consultant by trade, and so I also work with schools and companies and nonprofits that will have me in terms of helping with their learning efforts as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. And speaking of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, Jeffrey Sachs will be speaking at the SRI 2025 Congress, and we have the link to register in the ticker with the code SRI Teacher to get a discount, $250 for the entire week. Rukmini, hello. My colleague from Discovery Partners Institute. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Brad. Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here today. My name is Rukmini. I am a senior research associate at Discovery Partners Institute. So I am a learning scientist and an educational researcher. And at DPI, I help with the development and implementation of educational research and workforce development initiatives. So most of my work has been focused around K-12 context. So I primarily study how people learn with technologies and how teachers can be supported with the use of technology efficiently for improving learning processes and their own learning designs and pedagogies, and how to create inquiry-based, collaborative, and engaging student learning processes. So I'm so excited to be here, and I have worked on a lot of different projects on sustainability education, climate change education, and STEM education related, how we can bring data science and literacy practices into STEM subjects for high school students and creating teacher professional development. So it's so wonderful to be able to see some of you at SRI soon.
Wonderful. And then Sam Lindgren from the University of Illinois at Champaign, Urbana. Hello.
Hi, Brad. Thanks for the invite to be here and to join all of you today. I am a former classroom teacher. I taught high school physics and environmental science for 10 years in Minnesota, California, and Florida before coming to the University of Illinois about 12 years ago, where I am faculty in the College of Education down at the University of Illinois in Champaign, Urbana. I study and research climate change education and loosely sustainability education in both global and domestic contexts, mostly international. But in the last couple of years, I've become very involved with climate change education in Illinois, offering a lot of professional development and working with advocacy groups across the state to improve opportunities and access to climate change education for our public school kids here. Great
Wonderful.
to be here.
So great to have all of you. We might be joined by Danna, Dotson, also with Discovery Partners Institute, as the conversation proceeds. But in the meantime, Lucy, there is a strong correlation between recognition of climate change and sustainability, as well as the vantage point of being a global educator. Why is it more important now than ever for educators to embrace a global education perspective?
Well, here in the United States, we have been, at least in my circles, have been talking about global competence for a number of years. How do we develop students who are globally competent? How do they recognize different perspectives and are able to communicate and solve problems across borders? And I think that there's been a step back from that a little bit over the last few years. And but the need is still there if given the pandemic and the way of the world now, our kids need to be connected. The problems of our planet are not going to be solved by one entity. We need to be able to work across borders and be able to communicate and collaborate with others. And so showing our students the way to go is really important. We can't afford not to be connected to the rest of the world.
Excellent. And Rukmini, talk as a researcher here at Discovery Partners Institute, tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're working on that from a climate perspective that you're looking to showcase and learn more about at the SRI Congress.
Right, absolutely. So we have been doing some very interesting work within our CLEATS Global Center, which is the Clean Energy and Equitable Transportation Systems Center, which does a lot of work on climate change and clean, sustainable transportation solutions. So some of the work that we have been doing with the CLEATS Center is focused on both K-12 and higher education, climate change education. So an exciting project that we had piloted recently is Sky Scouts. So this project has been developed to integrate climate change topics into science and STEM education in a fun, inquiry-based way for elementary and middle school students to learn about climate change to see to do experiments and see how the real data about climate and how it relates to their own understanding and observation of how the outside world and weather and climate are changing, right? So our climate and sustainability lead, Dr. Ashish Sharma, piloted this program with his kid and one of our other scientists, their own kids. So what they did was they put weather stations in their backyard and had the kids monitor the weather daily using the weather readings on the weather station. And they also had both the kids, they were in middle school students, so they also noted their own observations of how the weather was daily for a couple of weeks, and they made notes, drawings, pictures of how the weather was based on their own observations, and also took readings on the weather station every day and correlated what the science was seeing to what their own observations was. So through we also created the Sky Scouts website for students to be able to upload all their readings, their drawings, their observations, and what their perception of how the climate was in the past couple of weeks, how the weather had changed daily, and what it meant for them to, for instance, go out and play or go out, have fun, or why do they have to stay inside if it was a windy or a snowy day in Illinois or in Colorado. So what we wanted to essentially bring out through a project like this is for students to have this curiosity and interest about climate change, while also integrating science and data literacy into these topics. So we'll be talking more about these projects in our SRI Congress, and we are also doing a couple of other interesting projects, interesting workshops about climate change education through the CLEATS program, both in the US and also in the UK, which have been designed to integrate experiential learning, inquiry-based learning, to also learn about STEM subjects and also climate change education. So I'm very excited to talk more about that at SRI Congress.
Excellent. And Sam, why right now in 2025 with everything going on in the globe and like from a meteorological, from a climate perspective, from an ideological perspective, all of the above, why and what are the challenges of teaching climate in particularly the high school setting now, and why is it such a crucial opportunity right now?
Well, I think there's the existential piece, right? It's the greatest existential threat to humanity and all species on the planet, and it is the backdrop to young people's daily lives. They've got more decades left on this planet, and a recent report by the IPCC shows unequivocally that kids born in this decade, that when they graduate from high school, they will be living on a warmer, wetter, and more unstable planet than the one that we currently live on. And they have, 70 extra years longer to live on this planet than I probably do. So education is the great multiplier, right? And so if those kids go into public schools and our public schools are equipping children to learn and thrive on a warming planet, then those kids can go on to be leaders, to make informed decisions, to work in collaborative transdisciplinary teams, to work towards solutions, to mitigating and adapting all communities to climate change. Also, we know that recent research has shown that young people are increasingly concerned about climate change. And of the two top things in a survey of more than 100,000 students across the United States, they're worried about racial justice and climate change. Here in Illinois, 98% of the first-year students at the University of Illinois said that they have learned about climate change or sustainability in their K-12 experience. But then when we look at their data or their climate literacy scores, it's actually really low. And so the time is right for there to be widespread, systematic climate change education so that our young people can live and thrive on this planet.
Wonderful. Lucy is somebody newer to the SRI community, but has an extensive background in global education. What specifically are you looking to learn at the SRI Congress coming up next month?
Yeah, it's been my observation informally. I'm not an expert like you all are in climate change education, but that climate change education efforts have been stronger outside of the U.S. than inside the U.S. And we're starting to see a change with organizations like the This is Planet Ed and Subject to Climate and Take Action Global that are doing work with teachers and students on this sort of thing. I think it's really interesting how Subject to Climate has kind of led state initiatives specifically. So that's been my knowledge base, has been seeing these organizations start and grow and gain more traction. But it feels to me like our efforts here are a little bit behind the ball. And so I'm very curious. I'm so excited to get to know all of you, first of all, and know that you're on the front lines doing this work. And I really am looking forward to following your work and learning from you. But I wonder how we can get more of people here in North America more aware of what's going on. And I'm hoping to learn how to do that and to kind of spread the word and talk about other people's work as a result of going to SRI.
Wonderful. And, taking a step back, Rukmini, a lot of your work and I think the same with Lucy and Sam is really, but Rukmini, I know that we've had many conversations about innovation that you're seeing in the area of online learning, particularly as it relates to like artificial intelligence. Tell us a little bit about some of the work you're devoted to in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see a lot of exciting research happening and innovations happening around AI and how it supports online learning and collaborative learning for both teachers and students. So some of the work that I have been particularly involved with has been around developing culturally responsive AI practices. So I've been working with researchers around Illinois. I work with researchers in UIC and also in Northern Illinois University on on how we can develop culturally responsive pedagogies and practices and guides while using, responsibly generative AI responsibly in their classroom context. So essentially, how we can be very mindful of designing lesson plans for everybody in the classroom, how the practices of teachers can be improved and enhanced to support all the students through creating accessible, personalized, and meaningful learning experiences. So some of my research is focused around that. Some of my research is also focused around understanding generative AI tools as collaborative thought partners in the classroom that can support personalized learning journeys for each student based on their own competency level. So I have been involved in a little bit of work with that. So, but this is to say that a lot of my work and a lot of researchers around Illinois, what we have been trying to understand and help each other understand is to use generative AI or AI in as a bigger term, is to how to understand it, how to be AI literate, and to make sure that we are using it responsibly, and we are also encouraging the students to think critically about AI, how to use it effectively and not overuse it or overindulge it, but to be ethical about our own learning journeys and how to support our learning processes and outcomes. So that's lot of my work related to AI, online learning, and yeah. Thank you.
In addition to just the intrinsic importance that we've discussed in terms of why teachers should be paying more attention to climate change, Sam, you know a little bit about the Illinois State Bill 4895, which requires climate education to be mandated in Illinois for grades 9 through 12. Tell us a little bit more about this, its rollout timetable, and ultimate motivation.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brad. It's a great question. So excitingly, Illinois is now just one of 5 states in the country that requires climate change education for their K-12 students. This bill was recently passed within the last 12 years, and beginning in the 2026-27 school year, 1 unit, now that's not defined, but let's just say it's a set of lesson plans. Maybe it lasts a couple days or a few weeks. 1 unit of climate change education is now required, as you said, in grades 9 through 12 in either science or social science for public schools. Unfortunately, the bill was passed without funding. So unlike other statewide educational mandates, there will not be statewide professional development for it. I've been working with ISB to figure out ways to provide widespread professional development for Illinois school teachers. They don't have money because the money that they normally get from the federal government, from the Department of Education for professional development is now gone, and this would be far outside the federal administration's current priority area. So right now, myself and some other climate change and environmental educators around the state are looking for alternative sources of funding. At a minimum, I hope to launch a free online professional learning community in the next year, with or without that funding. But we hate to leave this decision up to teachers to try to figure out how and why and where and who's going to do it. And so we'd like to help. And so hopefully, good information at SRI to help sort of think about how climate change and sustainability might fit into your subject area. We certainly want to see it beyond just science and social studies, but that's a great place to start. Elementary school and early childhood is an even better place to start. But we're really excited about what this means for the future of climate change education in Illinois, and hope that it just continues to grow.
And as I mentioned, Jeffrey Sachs from the UN Sustainable Development Goals is partnering with SRI Congress and SRI Congress and as someone that has been involved in various entrepreneurial ventures with the intersection of global education, UN Sustainable Development Goals, and kind of the future of learning, what is one attribute, starting with Lucy, in terms of the kind of impact Jeffrey Sachs has had upon on you, and what you're looking to hear currently in 2025 in terms of what he has to say.
Yeah, he's been a standout in the world for a long time. And one of the things that I'm interested in learning more about is his new curriculum that he has going that's based on one of his books. I believe it's for high school students, and they have live and asynchronous content offered. And it was being pushed out this year, so I'm assuming that it's probably at the conclusion of the school year. I have not been following it closely, but I would love to hear his observations about how that's been going and the response to it. Like, have schools been eagerly taking him up on his offer to join this cohort? That was the name that really stood out to me. And this is a world that's kind of new to me too. I have to say that I have not been on top of climate change education like I should have been. And so his names stood out to me, as well as Tom Skilling, of course. If you're from Chicago, you know Tom Skilling and what a joy he is. So it'll be fun to hear him speak. But there's a plethora of other people from all over the world that are coming too. So I'm looking forward to my horizons being expanded as a result of this. And I see this climate change education movement as a cross-sector priority and topic. Like, there may be some content there that I'm not sure will be applicable to me, but it's important for all of us to be in one place talking about these things, coming from education, coming from science, coming from business, coming from technology, because we're all impacted by it and we all have to work together. It's not going to be the purview of one sector taking the lead on this. So I'm really interested in learning more, not just about climate change in general, but how it applies to other areas that may not necessarily fall under my area of expertise.
Wonderful. So again, the world is coming to Chicago June 16 through June 19 at the SRI Congress at the Sheraton. We at Discovery Partners Institute and the University of Illinois System want to extend this special offer for K-12 teachers. Register, and under the label SRI Teacher for the code, you can access a very deep discount of $250 throughout the course of the session. It's going to be a number of educational and commercial development opportunities there. We're also partnering with Chicago Innovation, and they're going to be launching a climate summit at SRI Congress. Lucy, Rukmini, Sam, thank you so much for spending part of your afternoon with us, and look forward to seeing you next month and beyond.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.